She founded an architectural concrete company.
He founded a $100 million clothing company.
She took the world by storm as a social media star.
He took the world by storm as a famous serial entrepreneur.
Together we started a business.
And had babies.
Now we're figuring out the best ways to do both.
Join us as we learn from other entrepreneurs going through the same life struggles.
As they share their life hacks about success, love, kids,
and everything in between.
Welcome to the Pretty and Punk Podcast. My name is Dan Caldwell.
And I'm Ildiko Ferenczi.
And we'd like to welcome you guys here. We want to talk about something that could be one of the biggest decisions you make in your kids' lives.
Could be. I feel it is.
And could be one of the best decisions or the worst decisions you ever make. For a lot of reasons. And that is... And don't get scared by the name. I picked this name up because my wife's from Vancouver and they use that word a lot. But it is deciding whether you want to have a nanny. Now, I grew up calling it a babysitter, but for a lot of reasons, they're pretty much the same thing. Why are you looking at me like that? I'm sorry, I'm unsophisticated. We call them babysitters.
No, that's not why.
Oh, okay.
I'm thinking about the episode. It's an important episode. And I was just thinking when you said nanny, when you said babysitter, a lot's going through my mind because we're dealing with this situation. So I was just really thinking about it and how important that word is to my child's future and well-being.
It impacts our kids and it impacts us.
It impacts us too.
What's so important about it, I think, personally, and you can tell me what you think, but what I think is what's important about it is not only how it affects our kids, but also us being able to get our jobs done and put time into our business is important too, just as important. Because if our kids don't have a place to live because we can't pay the mortgage on our home, then we're all going to be homeless and none of it matters.
That's right.
So it's important for so many reasons. And, lots of times, having a babysitter or a nanny, whatever you want to call them, it could just be for a few hours a day, right? So it's not like you have to have a lot of money to do it, but you do want to pick somebody who's maybe educated, somebody who you feel like has your child's best interests in mind. Maybe they're a professional. I know we were able to pick a doula who, if that's another new word that I learned when I was in Vancouver and having our first baby. No,
but a doula has a totally different responsibility and job. It's
maybe we should explain what a doula is.
Like
not everybody knows what a doula is.
Doula, night nurse. It helps you with a newborn. And I never even planned on having that because I wanted to experience because I wasn't.
No. Let's stop.
What?
Let's stop. Let's go back to our original conversations before you were pregnant, and we would have these conversations.
Yeah, we got quite heated about it.
Because I didn't believe, I had grown up with my mom in the home, and most of the time, she did have a job here and there, but most of the time she was in the home, and I wanted my kids to have that. And I thought that we didn't need a nanny or a babysitter, and that was something that you or myself could do. And
I started to panic.
Said we needed a nanny.
I said we definitely need a nanny because I started to panic about my career. That, by the way, is not even, I'm not doing the swimwear line. But at that time, I was very set on, how am I going to run my swimwear line? And I had 110% focus on that. I have to do the shoots. I have to go to red carpets. I have to push the brand. I have to market. I have to do this. How am I going to do this with a baby? I couldn't. I believed I couldn't. I needed a nanny to take care of the things that I didn't think I can handle as a working mom.
But I think what's important here, though, is how you described to me why you needed a nanny and actually won me over. Like, I got to the point where I was thinking, okay, that makes sense to me.
I know, I won that fight, didn't I?
Well, no, because it made sense. Because you made sense. When you say that, and a lot of people, now
thought I
remember
made
this,
sense.
It irritated me when she first said it, because I was like, oh, you don't want to take care of your kids? You know, like I think it was almost an argument. We just kind of like, it didn't sit well with me.
Right.
And I was like.
But at the same time, I was like, you're not going to stop your work to raise the children or look after the children. Let's just say look after the children.
Yes.
You're not going to stop. Are you going to stop?
No.
No. And that was a firm
that.
No. And being this
but let me
woman
explain
raised
first.
by a father figure, mother figure woman that was running the businesses. And I just felt like, I don't want them to miss out on their kid time like I did. And I didn't really investigate this situation of where my greatest joy was as a child. And I didn't know what I was up against. I didn't know what would happen when they laid those babies on my chest, and how important I knew that whoever they spend time with is who they are going to become. I started, when you're pregnant, you got these like radar goggle sort of things, and you're just really taking in, you go for coffee or you go for dinner, and you're watching other parents deal with their kids. And I didn't realize what I wanted for my children's future.
Yeah. So, but let me step back. What I was saying is how you explained to me why we needed a nanny, and why you won me over was because you said we can afford to have a nanny, and if it will make our kids' lives better because it adds to their lives, because one, it takes some pressure off of you, and your attitude towards the kids and towards myself, you're not so stressed out, so you get to spend some great time.
Precisely.
So it's not like you were going to be gone. The nanny was going to be there while you were also there.
Precisely. Well, very good point. But as I said, you start people watching as a mother, and you see how these kids behave. And I remember being in the Palisades, and there was this little, I gotta say, she was like 6 years old. Her brother was maybe 8, 10. I couldn't really tell the age at that time, but that's what I would say. That's how old they were. They were having an intelligent conversation with their parents. Now, I was doing a lot of running around.
I actually remember that. You like pointed that out, and you were like, I want our kids to be just like that.
That's
like,
what
look
I
at this
wanted.
conversation that this little girl was having with her dad, I believe.
Yes.
And how she was just carrying on this intelligent conversation as a little kid, like not the type of conversations we saw most kids
The words
have.
that these children were throwing, I was like, wow.
And I can't remember what the conversation was, but it was, it was it seemed like a better conversation than I would have with somebody.
Absolutely.
And I remember you saying that's the conversation that I want my kids to have with us. That's the level of conversation I want our kids to have.
That's right. And I watched how the mother and father, they were replicas of the way that their mother and father were speaking to them. And I just started really looking at that point. And I remember seeing nannies on the phone, the mom, dad, nowhere in sight, kids hanging off the stroller, throwing things around in the food court. Nanny, I don't even know if she's like really paying attention. But I just remember thinking, could you imagine if their parents knew what they were being exposed to right now, and how these kids are being looked after? Because I won't even say they were being raised. but I was seeing it often and it just gave me chills.
But just to be clear, that is another situation where you saw a nanny watching these two kids, and they were
another situation
running around, jumping off the walls.
But I felt like I was seeing it more.
And she was
often.
on the phone.
More, yeah. Oh my god.
Not barely paying attention.
Yeah.
Or we have this nanny that actually walks around our neighborhood, and she's walking the kid, and the whole time she's pushing the kid in the stroller, and you can see the kids looking for like some attention because when we walk by, you know, the little kid's like looking at us to have a conversation.
So lonely.
But the nanny's pushing her while she's on her phone.
Yelling.
She's like phone in one hand, stroller in the other.
Passionately having some kind of discussion with someone that I would definitely not want that conversation anywhere near my children. And these things started really impacting me. And I knew that.
And then so my all of a sudden I had these, I don't want to say dreams, but, you know, this whole thought process that we were going to have a nanny and we were going to have these kids and that I was going to, you know, that's how our life was going to go. And we were going to be able to have these business conversations together. I was starting to like,
no kids in the hair. We're gonna have kids, but we're gonna just keep running our businesses.
Yeah,
no interruptions.
Because we were traveling the world at the time.
We'll travel the world. They can watch the kids. We'll go to the clubs and pop bottles.
I didn't say that.
I don't have to say it. They know. They know. They know what they thought.
That's not what I'm trying to do.
They know.
No, I just wanted to be able to deal with our business and, you know, start a podcast because we were talking about starting our podcast at that time. That was back in 2015, by the way. And it didn't get started until 2020 for two reasons.
But because
Daniel and Destiny. And so the whole point is that I was just starting to feel
being
this.
Entrepreneurs and not being interrupted.
Yeah, because
no interruptions.
Well,
please.
I had 3 previous kids, and so going forward, I was thinking, okay, I'm kind of like I have, you know, kids, and we're done with that, and now I'm married again, or married,
and we realized a lot.
I didn't know we were going to have kids,
right? But it was exciting because
I love having kids. I love kids.
It's heartbreaking when someone goes through divorce because you don't really think about it and people don't really talk about it, but you don't get to have that full impact. Like you become the best version of yourself, and you really hope that, you know, children pick up those examples, but you don't really get to raise your children. You don't really get to be that everyday example. Only on the weekends. Is that enough? I have to say, no, it's not. This is things that people need to think about.
Yeah.
You know, especially right now, we ran into some facts. And I didn't realize that it's just so sad because my parents didn't make it, you know, and a lot of other people out there are struggling. And
by the way, that's why we started this podcast, is because we know how the struggles that, you know, that we have as entrepreneurs, and having relationships and raising kids, you know, and all of it, and trying to do it well, not just do it, but do it well,
successfully, whatever that
and
word
create
means
kids that are, you know, that impact the earth and
the world,
change lives. Yeah, I mean, we think about that, and we all think we want that for our kids, but sometimes I feel like at some point a lot of parents, and I, including myself, because I've been there, I get to the point where sometimes I let off the gas when it comes to that stuff. And then other times I get invigorated when I, you know, meet somebody, or I see a great family, or I have some great friends that have incredible families, and I see what they're doing in their lives, and I'm like, wow, I need to get better in that place, in that area of my life. I need to get back on that again.
And that's what we're doing. We're trying to better our families. Like, we can't say we have all the answers, and I'm sure, you know, we've made a lot of mistakes, but I feel we're more focused, and we really know what we want for our children and what we want for ourselves. And a lot of the things that we find important right now, we didn't feel like that before Daniel. And it's
what's one of the things you think we've changed? Like, Well, besides having a nanny, what's one of the things that we used to put importance on, and then now today, post Daniel, which is our first child?
I think you and I both, and
changed.
I really ran into this when I got sick, was what things I felt showed your success. I did feel that having a great car or the
right bag,
hefty bank account, the right bag. There was a lot of things that, I don't know, like, why am I collecting these bags? Why am I collecting these shoes? And maybe, if you didn't have it as a child and you had to work really hard for it, why was I focusing so hard on that? Because I didn't know what it was like. I had no idea what I was missing. I just didn't know what I was missing. And when people would say, oh, those are amazing shoes, wow, you made it, you're so successful, was my success just trying to prove everybody wrong?
Well, that's part of it, and that's true. That's a big part of why a lot of people need success. I mean, including myself. Like, I had to prove the people who said I would never make it.
And when you win, it feels good,
it
right?
Feels absolutely good. I had to run out and buy a Lamborghini the first time I got a few bucks in my bank.
And it felt good.
It did feel good. It did feel good.
I remember first keys to my
And then
nice
I
car.
actually got over it real quick, and I got rid of it. And then I started going, and then I went through this breakup and went through it again, like this feeling of just where I needed to do it again and go out and prove myself and show people that I was, had everything that I wanted and that I was successful. So I went out and bought a Ferrari and a Bentley and did all kinds of stupid stuff again.
Our vision of success? Me, I feel like because my parents failed at not having a successful marriage, they did well in the business department, but they failed at their marriage. And I just and my mom sacrificed everything to bring us to this country. I knew as a young girl, very young girl, that I needed to be successful to be able to take care of her. And it's just our son breaking the house. But what can we do? I just knew at a young age that I needed to be successful. But I didn't know exactly what success was, really.
And I think anybody who's had success, you realize this pretty quickly that it's great proving people wrong and it's great making all this money. But all these things that you'll buy with this money, most of these material goods, aren't going to make you happy. Mm-mm. And as soon as you realize that, you're like, why did I buy all this stuff for?
Oh, it's so freeing.
To just start to get rid of it.
So dang good.
And then when you start to have kids especially, how that becomes so important in your life and the main focus of your life that all that other stuff just kind of falls off. Mm-hmm. So, and we're, I think, just in a place in our lives where we kind of watch the young entrepreneurs, and I feel like it's almost like a rite of passage. We talked about this before, but like a rite of passage, like you almost need to kind of get that stuff out of your system.
You need to experience it, and then you need to experience that aha moment. Like, I'm almost getting emotional. Like,
yeah, you're fine. You got this.
But like when I held my babies, I knew what I wanted for them. Obviously, as parents, we want the absolute best for our children. And I knew whoever we surround, I'm going back to the nanny moment, but we knew that whoever we surrounded our children with is going to impact them the way they eat, the way they care for their body, their mindset, everything. You become who you surround yourself with. So that was, it was an interesting exploration moment to see this whole, I wanted a nanny. Now I'm just, I don't know anymore.
Well, I don't think, you know what, I honestly,
but
let me just.
Wait,
okay,
no, I wasn't quite done. I went back.
Ow, stop. Okay, go ahead.
No, I didn't really hit on my swear. No, but going back to that aha moment when I got sick, because I still felt like I wanted to obviously juggle the baby and babies while I was working to be successful. But when I got sick and I heard the words that were said to me, I was so angry, and I just just got rid. Remember that? I just bags and bags of stuff. And I said, why was I focusing on this garbage? Can I just say garbage? Like, who gives a hoot if you're carrying a Burkham? That's not what makes you successful. That's not. And I guess you're right. People need to experience it. But I see these people now like, look at me, I've got a Burkham, I've got a Chanel, I got this. And I'm like, how embarrassing, like, that I thought that was
the symbol of success.
The symbol
That's
of success, or a Lamborghini or a Ferrari.
You start to get perspective. And when you see that, you start to realize, and especially when you go through that
aha moment, that God
you had
brings you to say, that's not why you're here, sweetheart. Child, you're not here to, that's not changing people's lives. Like, yes, you can impact a lot of lives. Like, look at me, I had nothing, now I have a 10 mansions and 50 Lambos and millions and millions and millions of dollars. But is your soul truly happy? Are you impacting the world the way that you should be? And that's
yeah, I think we just recently watched an interview with somebody, and I don't want to mention their name because I don't need to throw them out there, but they seem to be a very successful couple out there in the world, and they were living the life. They were very successful at this time. It was their time. They were blowing up, and everybody thought that they were happy. They were actually throwing seminars on, putting out seminars out there on how to have a successful relationship. And then all of a sudden they get a divorce. She's a weirdo. No, don't say that. It's true. I'm not going to throw them under the bus. It's just true. It's true. It's like hard that, they went through this and it should be put out there. And it's hard to talk about, but people are getting divorces. And so I don't want to take away from the good part of having a nanny. If it can free up your life a little bit, or a babysitter, if it can free up your life and create that time where you can spend time together or have conversations.
We don't know the real reason nobody knows
but that's
what
not a bad
happened
thing.
There.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying. I'm just saying that some things happen, whatever it was.
Something happened, but something is happening a little too often because, as I said before, when you look at the statistics, the first year after having a child is the hardest. People run into tragedies with their marriage,
a lot of tragic people relationship problems. But I get that. I get that happens. But what I'm saying is that being an entrepreneur is also hard. So whether that was the relationships through having kids, they had older kids, so it was different. But maybe the growing their business is what made having kids and growing their business and trying to keep a relationship together, all that stuff compiled together,
absolutely, that can
weigh on you and can drag you down if just one thing is out of click.
So is it possible that if it's that hard, maybe you have a coming to Jesus moment and say, am I really happy away from my family? Am I really happy doing what I'm doing? Because, the swimwear line, as soon as I found out I was having a little boy, all of a sudden, just that whole idea, I'm like, this isn't right for him. This is the mindset he's going to surround himself with. I just don't know if this is right for our son. And then we came up with billionaires.
Yeah, so that's what brings me to this. So now at this point, so let's bring it all together. Let's go back a second. Let's bring it all together. So what I'm saying is that if you can put all this together, what is the important part? Yes, you can have a nanny. You can have a babysitter, but they need to have the right mindset because you're like I can say this about you. I hope you don't get mad about this. I can say this about you.
I don't know. What are you going to say?
This is a good thing.
What are you going to say?
You're like a lion, a lioness when it comes to things that are around your kids.
1,000%.
The influences that are around your kids.
1,000%.
I've seen you.
We'll be walking down the street, and if I see
a kid acting crazy, she'll I know what she's going to say before she even says it because I've been there more than 10 occasions that when we've literally dragged us out of eyesight of this kid because she doesn't want our kids to see that. She doesn't want to see these kids misbehaving or acting crazy and our kids to be influenced by that. Or the same goes for what kids eat. Like if kids are eating candy, our kids don't eat candy. Very, very few and far between occasions that they do partake of some organic candy that we allow them to have here and there. But it's very few and far between that they get to experience that. So if there's some kids having candy, she doesn't want the kids around that, and it's really hard to keep those influences away from our kids. And having a nanny, you have to obviously pick somebody who has maybe at least respects your points of view.
Well,
so you don't have those problems.
I'm having a really hard time finding someone that will help me raise my kids, that will love my kids, that will show them that. And I'm right now with what I'm going through in my life, I'm not ready to back off because of I have a special situation. So I want to be around my children as much as possible. I want them to remember me. 4. Hi.
Oh, goodness gracious. Anything can happen on this podcast. So just to be clear, let me go back just a little bit. Just to be clear, we're not looking to have a nanny, like a full-time nanny who's here 8 hours a day. That's not what we're looking for in our life. I know there's a lot of people that have that, and I'm not knocking you. That's great. If that's your choice, that's fine. We're looking to have a nanny a few hours a day, maybe
on certain days of the week.
On certain days of the week.
Just to help us out.
To get us through those moments where we're trying to work on our projects or our company, or we just want to spend some time together.
But at the same time, what a beautiful lesson this is, that for those parents, and I see the emails. I see them, guys. I do. I see the emails. I really wish for you to stop feeling that you can't pursue your dreams and your life calling, because maybe it's as simple, and I say simple, being probably the most difficult thing you will do, but thank yourself for later when you have that freedom for your family, is that maybe you create something around your family, something that you have the ability to kind of have everyone around, like that old school family business vibe. Like maybe it's time to do something along those lines, and it's never been easier. You could start an online business. There's other things that you could pivot to.
Well, the product could be based around what your kids do or what they like.
I don't know what it is, but maybe it's that blessing in there that says, you know what? I'm going to keep my eyes and ears open, and you'll just feel it. Like a lot of our interviews, they were in the worst time of their lives. Many of them pregnant, losing their, just thinking that they might not make it. And then all of a sudden they fall into something amazing that kind of involves their whole family almost.
Yeah, many times. We try to find people that have that situation going. But
because I know you guys are struggling with that.
It shouldn't be kids that stop you from living out your dreams, and that whether you have to make them part of it or you bring them into the business or you do the business while they're also while you're also raising your kids, that should be possible. You can hear our son talking in the background right now. That is the situation that we're in. And we do it because we feel like you guys are going to be okay with it, and that it's not going to, that you guys are understanding, and that we want to do this podcast either way, even though we're in this kind of lockdown situation with COVID, that we're going to do this podcast anyway. Either way, right. We're going to do this podcast. We're going to make this happen, even if our kids are up and they're walking around and they're going to talk in the middle of our show. So this is the situation. So thank you guys for listening to us talk about this. We kind of we were having this conversation earlier today. And we just wanted to put it out there because we thought, oh, this is a great show. This is us talking about our real situation, kind of the situation that we're going through, because we're still talking about whether we bring in a nanny. And you guys have heard our point of view on it. You guys don't take our word for it. You guys need to each render your own decision. But I should say that it's an important decision, and that the people that you bring into your house, and I'm saying something that my wife would say to you, is that the people that you bring into your house are going to have a direct influence on your kids. And sometimes it's even more important than that and more dangerous than that, right? There's other things that can happen. So be mindful of that if you're going to do that, but don't let it stop you. Don't let anything stop you from chasing that dream that you have to start your business or do whatever you're going to do in life. Whether that's travel the world with your kids. There's people all the time that are dropping everything to go travel the world with their kids.
I learned more traveling the world with my mom every single year than I did in school. I don't even remember what I learned in school, but I will never forget that first trip to Europe that I remember at 3 years old.
You're totally off mic.
Okay.
So I hope you got that. Anyways, thank you guys for listening. Thank you for listening to the Pretty and Punk podcast. Please share this with your friends. We hope this is something that can help other people that are going through the same thing. And don't forget about our contest that we're having. You have to rate, review, and share, and then send a snapshot to us by email. Go to prettyandpunk.com for more details, and share. You can send it to us there also. We thank you guys, and we will catch you next time.
Thanks for listening. Please subscribe. We love you.